Welcome back to another episode of Talkin' Shit with your host Amanda, she, her.
I am Prodigy Q, he, him.
And then Teddy's poking out behind here. We have Teddy back this week. I don't know if you could see his face. We're just trying to keep him distracted. So.
Again.
This is his test, whether he stays or not. But yeah, so what are we going to be talking about today?
Today we're talking about mental health, various kinds, different forms. But I think it's always important to talk about, address at any point, all points of the year. But as we're getting ready for the holidays, as you guys can see our decor, it is something that is relevant. In today's time, society always. And so we thought it'd be nice as people are kind of getting into the mood of the Christmas spirit, for those who may not
or holiday
spirit, yes, and who may not be there mentally or not really feeling very festive or that kind of
or even ties into grief. Like, if you haven't listened to our grief episode, definitely check it out. But I think it was 8 or something. I don't know. It was released on November 10th, but yeah, and because when I lost my sister, it was very close to the holidays. It was a week before my birthday. Like, all of that compounded together, and I really needed resources like how we're about to give you.
And I think, like you mentioned, I think the holidays is always one of those times, you're getting around family. For some people, those may be triggers, or, especially if you lost people. So now you're thinking about, I know a lot of people who may have lost people throughout this year. This may be your first holiday without those people. And so a lot of times, those can sometimes send us into, just different places.
And also, speaking of grief, it's funny because I gave this as the first example, but I lost my job. There was layoffs with just economy stuff and financial. It wasn't because of me. But yeah, so now I'm trying to think about all the people that are going to ask me how's my job doing, and I'm going to be like, it's not doing anything because I'm not there. So also, if you're listening around the time this comes out and you have any film jobs that need somebody, let your girl know.
Absolutely.
I'm going to just plug myself every chance I get because your girl needs funds. Okay. And even going with that though, not everyone has the same financial ability to give during the holidays, and sometimes it's hard to even make something to even just give cookies, because I just got some of the food that I'm making today and it was $40. So that's things are very expensive and you don't realize until you are spending the money. So it's just, there's so many things that go into the holidays. Yes, there's family. Yes, there's food. There's fun. There's love. All these amazing things. But honestly, when you have a lot of good things, comes that cloud that tries to take over. Absolutely. So we're trying to help you push that cloud away.
Absolutely.
Deal with it for your New Year's resolutions, right?
Right.
And yeah, so do you want to get started?
Yeah.
Sorry. I do want to talk about something before we get into it. I'm so sorry. So, if you haven't listened to our Reality of Thanksgiving episode, definitely check it out. But, no one said anything to me personally about the episode and what I'm about to say. But I always try to keep myself mindful and keep myself in check. And then when I feel like I've made mistakes, then I like to acknowledge them. And that just helps me to learn and grow and move forward. And I hope that it brings something to you as well. There was a point in the episode where I said that, white people need to do something about the damaging history caused in this country. Specifically, I was referring to Thanksgiving and with the colonizers and with indigenous people, but even in that episode, we talked about how race doesn't really exist. So even me saying white people was an ignorant statement in itself, because it really isn't white people. It's actually people with descent of Eastern European communities that were that came over during the time of colonization, whether they were directly the colonizers or just came over and took over that land. Those are the people, if you have that descent, that you really, really, really need to take things into your own hands and do something. And I did want to share some resources that I've looked up also. I didn't get to share a lot of resources to different organizations. I do want to say I did talk to my family, and we did pray for the Indigenous community, and I spread some knowledge to them. A lot of my cousins knew about everything, but a lot of the older generations didn't know, and so we were able to have a really good conversation and then turn that, because our family just prays about things, so we were able to pray and stay mindful. And then I was able to also explain it to the younger generations in a way that they understood part of it without the traumatic parts of it. But they understood the ideas of everything and where people went wrong, you know. But I did want to share these resources before we move on. So there are several different organizations. This is not the only one, but this one has been around since the 1970s. And I also researched if this organization is trustworthy and what they do. They have a 94% good rating. So, you know, because not all organizations are great, but from everything I've found, they are. So the Native American Rights Fund, and it was created in the 70s, so it's not. Maybe they'll change their name with the time, since we now refer to these communities as Indigenous people, you know, so it's also about evolving and changing language. But they give resources, they help fight for rights, they give legal advocacy and legal expertise, and you can go there and donate. There are also several other organizations that you can donate to. And then by going and learning, if you're able to go to the land, I definitely want to make a trip to one of the tribes. I haven't decided which one, but one of the Indigenous tribes, and learn more from them, from the people that have either experienced something or have had these stories passed on from generations of things happening with their families. And then just a quick thing that I also wanted to talk about, because I did talk about it a little bit with my family as well, saying things like, you know, dogs are my spirit animals. Like, using spirit animals actually does, you know, it's not anybody's term to use but the Indigenous community, because there are real, very powerful sentiments behind spirit animal, and we won't get into it today, but all you need to know is that a good first step in showing allyship is to donate, try to find resources that are accurate and that come from the people who have experienced it or had ancestors experience it, and then also not using terms like that. We do that in many other cultures as well. And then I also want to share a quick story about something that I did recently that was I felt a lot of guilt and resentment towards myself from it. So I thought that someone I was talking to had said that they were part of a different culture than they ended up being. So I was talking about the culture that I thought that they were, and I was talking about how amazing it was and how beautiful and how awesome, but I had thought that they were a part of that culture, and so it took me saying I said it twice, and then they were like, that's not my culture, this is my culture. And that's just a reality check for myself. Even though I thought that I was speaking correctly, I wasn't just assuming, like I thought that we had that conversation. I still wasn't sure. Like, if you wouldn't bet $100 on what you're saying is right, just don't. Like, ask first. And that's where I should have done. I should have asked and had that conversation before I said that. Even though I was talking about positive things, I still misrepresented them, and very, like, confidently, you know? So that's a situation that could have been avoided if I would have taken the step to ask. So, that's my spiel. I just wanted to get that out. You know, we're learning and growing and evolving always, not only with the podcast, but the podcast gives us a direct reflection of moments that we can learn from.
Right.
So, yeah.
Good to include. And again, back to another reference. If you haven't seen that episode, go back and look into it. Again, you know, we did speak only positively and uplifting of you know, the indigenous people and their story and their culture. You know, we definitely try to highlight so that, again, actually, that we can all kind of be better and understand, again, why we kind of do the things we do, especially when, you know, they're national holidays and, you know, and again, these things are kind of taught in schools, and, you know, we celebrate, we, you know, decorate, and sometimes not knowing why we do these things, or again, the story behind why we do these things. So,
or even if we're celebrating, like we talked about, the things that actually didn't happen, like we're celebrating like a positive fake version of the story. So and it's not to like bring anybody down, like it truly, knowledge is power. So by sharing knowledge, we might have to cut in a second because Teddy is just running around here crazy. I don't know if y'all can hear it, but yeah, spreading knowledge and learning from it is the only way to create the future that we want as a society.
Absolutely. And so hopefully definitely go to these resources, you know, because we should definitely be doing more, you know, with, again, like you said before in the last episode, I mean, that community is, I mean, it's definitely dwindled from what it used to be. And so, you know, there's always still ways to help and to just show people that, again, you know, we stand in that solidarity and with them, with everyone who's, you know, in our country and abroad. But, you know, definitely, you know, brothers and sisters here, you know, we should all be looking out for one another.
Yep. And do you want to just put him up? No? Okay.
Rolled around. They had a good time.
He did. I don't know if you heard little dings here and there, but he was running around.
So we good to go.
Yeah, But I also have, just before we move on, I have several more resources that I'm able to share in the time that we have. So please, if you want to learn more, I have so many articles about not only like giving resources, but just about the history of Thanksgiving in several different contexts that we didn't get to cover in our episode. So let me know. Let me know if you want us to do an episode about it, sharing more about it. So yeah, let us know what you want to see and what you want to hear, I guess, for our audience listeners. Sorry. But yeah, without further ado.
Further ado.
Okay. You go.
Okay. Well, again, we were just talking about again, mental health and just the different things that people may go through and dealing with mental health. I do believe you know, highly in mental health, and you know, people you know, really, if you feel like you're suffering from any of those things or any type of mental health, you know, to definitely seek counseling. I'm always supportive of people in my life and my friends who say, you know, I'm going to therapy now. I started therapy. And I think those are things that's beautiful and really should be, you know, celebrated. You know, especially when those people tell you, you know, that they are going through it or thinking about doing it. You know, I know it because for a lot of times.
Think about doing therapy?
Yeah, think about doing therapy. You know, and I think that we should all be supportive in that, especially if people come to you, friends, family, saying, you know, I think we should root that, because it takes, you know, a lot of steps and a lot of courage for somebody to get to a point where they even, number one, know something is wrong, know something is off, and then be able to say, instead of masking it or hiding it or drowning it, hey, I'm going to seek counsel, I'm going to seek somebody talk this out with. I think a lot of times with a lot of mental health, we get embarrassed, or we don't want to talk about it, or we don't want to share, or we feel like people might judge us, or and of course nobody necessarily wants to feel like anything is wrong with them, just naturally. So for those people who take those steps in doing that, it should be a big thing. So we have like, we do gender reveals. We should do like go to therapy parties, like
Yeah. And speaking of going to therapy parties, you don't have to start with individual therapy if you don't want. And I wish that I would have known how many resources there were when I did lose my sister, because there are groups especially for children. If you know a child that lost somebody, definitely encourage them to go to these different groups because they have camps and they have like all these fun retreats. So it's not just therapy. It's like they create a whole experience out of it where you can heal in multiple different ways. But I know that there are similar resources for adults. You just might have to search a little bit more. But yeah, group therapy is definitely great. And if it's something with an addiction, there's like, it's so many different kinds of groups. Like even with eating disorders, there's different groups for that. So you can actually find the group of people that are struggling with the same thing you're struggling with and learn from them as well. Because even with those groups, you don't have to share. You can go to a few and listen to other people before you share if you want to. So that's always an option.
And I think that those things would be great, especially for kids, but really for anybody to be able to find a community. Because I know a lot of times that's the thing, that isolation, or you feel like, again, you're by yourself, or nobody understands, what I'm going through. And the reality,
or like therapy is quote unquote weak, like for the weak.
Right.
I remember someone told me I was going to therapy, and someone told me, "Oh, you're going to therapy? I thought you were stronger than that."
Oh, really?
Yeah, they said, "I thought you were stronger than that." And I'm like, in my head, I was like, I am strong. That's why I'm going to therapy. Right. But, yeah, it's definitely, I think that there's so much strength in choosing to work on yourself. Absolutely. And find out more about yourself. And sometimes through therapy, you find out things that you didn't even know happened, because we don't remember everything that's happened to us in our lives and the things that shaped us as children, especially.
Right.
So
definitely agree with that. And I have a big, strong stance, when it comes to it. And my biggest kind of platform, and it really does gear into men's mental health. I'm a really kind of big proponent and advocate for men's mental health. Because it is a major thing, of course, as being a man, and of course talking to other men and talking to other men who have had these thoughts. And of course, like I said, because I'm just such an advocate in it, I allow them the platform and those opportunities, when we speak, or I'm talking to them to get it out and be that ear and that aid, and and support, and say, hey, what you're doing is great. The fact that you're thinking about this, the fact that you're doing this. And but I do think, as a society thing, it is oftentimes not as on the forefront as it need to be when it comes to men's health. And I think that even in research, a lot of the issues that men face as far as why they have mental health is because of societal stems and ideals and those kind of things. It's not as emotional as many tests have said it's done between men and women. So it's like a lot of the outside forces are kind of placed on men, which I do understand. A lot of it is, financial things. We may have to, because in society we have these things. We may have to make a certain amount. We have to, do these things and provide these things. And some of these stigmas get confused and muddled. And I think as a man, especially in today's society, where you have sometimes a list, a lot of things are like, especially over between the last 20, 30 years, where those ideas of kind of what a man should be become so muddled based off of other stigmas and other ideas and other components of men shouldn't do this, or if they do this, they're this, or men believe this. There's things like now, like if a man has a cocktail drink, he's sassy. It's like, what I'm saying? You gotta, so many small stigma of things. So I think that as grown, you sometimes get to a place where it's like, you don't know how to be, because there's so many forces all outside telling kind of men how to be, or how they should be, or how they should approach this. And I think that a lot of those stigmas just gets very stressful. You know what I mean? It can get very stressful, very daunting. Even when it comes to resources, you know, there's a lot more resources, even, you know, from many standpoints, you know, government standpoint, whatever the case may be, where, you know, it's always been women and children first, you know, but when it comes to like outlets for men to, you know, there's more women and children, shelters and stuff versus men, or, you know, they take women and children first before they take men, or, you know, men are typically placed on the bottom of the list when it comes to certain resources that they actually may really need.
And also, like, I mean, statistically, like, a lot of, like, you know, like, serial killers or abuse, like, they may be statistically from men, but I definitely think that is because men are told that they can't have feelings, like, or they need to hide their feelings, or they just need to suck it up and deal with it, like, you know. And a lot of those people that commit those gruesome acts were abused or raped or all these different things growing up. So also just trigger warning for like everything bad, I guess, right now. As it's coming out of my mouth, I'm like, I should have warned you. But yeah, so it's like, I think the root of a lot of the bad issues in our society is people feeling like they don't have a space in society, or they have a very specific space that they're just allowed to stay in, or they are not allowed to express or deal or even have emotions.
Right. All of those things are
no matter your gender, and especially put on to men. For sure. And even religion, because I remember someone in my family talking about one time how it was like their job as a man to get their family to heaven, and it was all put on them. So like they are in charge of making sure everyone gets up there. Like, can you imagine feeling that pressure of like, crazy. I am responsible for your entire afterlife that is like forever long.
Right, that is wild.
You know, and they firmly believe that. So that's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of pressure. And I mean, I get it, because like I said, those stigmas are there, and I get it. You know, I mean, many you deal with a lot, and you know, especially like, you know, if you have family, you know, you think about that. Okay, you know, I'm supposed to be there for my wife, for my kids, and you know, I always gotta, you know, gotta be a no-go. I gotta be able to provide. I gotta be able to go to work. And I think that a lot of those things is ultimately why men don't live as long, you know, as women do. You know, just and I look at that too sometimes as a man, and how much things on top of, like, you know, even like relationships, even though it's not like a thing, but sometimes it's like, you know, you do this whole thing all day, and then, you know, come home and then still have like other to-dos, or you still have to still be the man at all times. On your job, you still got to be, you know, when you go home, you still got to, you know, so there's never those moments of weakness or vulnerability. Or a lot of times you had issues where a lot of men have tried to put themselves in positions. It typically happens early on, typically, where a man put himself in that vulnerable place and then doesn't get the response he was hoping for, or, you know, that empathy or that really sympathy. You know, you get the, oh, suck it up, or you get the, you know, so it makes you definitely feel like, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna do that again. I'm not gonna allow myself to get like that. And then what happens is we typically mask it. We typically mask it with drugs. We typically mask it with alcohol, with sex, with all these different things in order to make ourselves kind of feel better. Yeah. You know, and everybody has their thing to try to make them feel better. But typically for men, it is typically some of the negative. You know, we go to a lot of the negative things, or the things that will aid in that negativity. You know what I'm saying? Drugs won't do it. Alcohol won't do it. Sex won't do it. You know, really finding those therapeutic outlets that allow you to address it and be able to really deal with it and find the root of whatever it is called. You know what I'm saying? If it is, you know, you just feel the stressors or the pressures of the world, being able to talk to somebody about that, and then be able to find somebody to say, okay, well, you know, maybe these are things to alleviate yourself. Okay, you feel like you work too much, well then maybe, you know, because sometimes you just need that different perspective. And I know a lot of times as men, we do get so, it's easy for us to get so closed in. It's easy for us to really box it up, shelve it down, suck it up, and You know, and I believe that all those things normally lead to it boiling over. And you have men who then ultimately become abusive. And I don't really think that...
Or it'll fester inside of you and, like, your body will start attacking itself, even if you don't attack anyone else.
Exactly. I think a lot of those things, like you said before, like with you know, as murderers and serial killers, people who, you know, I believe even for men who are abusive, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of those men who are abusive have traumatic trauma, and that's the only way they feel like they can express that stuff or you know, not really control that emotion, but to do it and become violent, you know.
And a lot of it is generational too, because I don't know if you remember this, but there was someone that we worked with once upon a time for like just a second. They weren't there the whole time, but there was one time where, you know, one of, like, somebody was in the LGBTQ community as like a male and appearing, and then the other person, like, he asked this person, this dude, to get something for him, and he said, oh, my daddy taught me never to do anything for a man. So it was like, even that, like, it's beyond, like, even a sexual thing too. Like, it's beyond. I think that part of it and how harsh he was about it was because we had heard what he thinks about the community. But regardless, I think that how harsh he was about it was maybe because of that. But it sounded like no matter what, I as a man shouldn't do anything for a man. Like, and it's like looking at, and also looking at society as this binary, like, I only do things for cis women because I want to have sex with them, and I never do something for a man because I don't want to have sex with them. like, you know, and it's like so intertwined too, and so it's like this heteronormative and also binary pushing, and also just like very, very specific gender roles that are really like sex roles, not gender, because that's not even acknowledging other parts of gender. So it's just, it's like, but I guarantee you his dad was taught that by his dad, by like, it just goes back generations. So what you say in front of your kids is so important.
So important.
You don't know what it's going to lead to. And I'm sorry if that puts pressure on you, but it's very true. Like, I even reflect with Teddy sometimes. Like, I'm like, I cannot talk to my kids how I talk to this dog. Sometimes I'll call him an asshole because he will be an asshole. But I can't call my kid an asshole, so what am I going to do? That's a me problem I need to fix before things come out of me. Before I have a child. That's a better way to say it. I don't know. But, yeah.
That's hilarious. And so I did have a few statistics and things as well. That I did want to talk about, because again, my stance is going to be a little bit kind of men focused, because again, I just want to make that push, number one, to be able
I'll
to say,
take all the other genders.
Absolutely, and I just want to be able to say out front to somebody that, listen, there are people who understand, there are people who will listen. You're valued, your thoughts are valued, your emotions are valued, and I don't want you to lose sight of that, especially during these holiday season where you may be thinking about, okay, how I'm going to get, you know, present for this person, or, you know, kids, or whatever the case may be, and feeling that stress or that pressure on yourself during this time. But it is a big thing in our society, because they say that, like, it was approximately 3.5 million people in the U.S. have been diagnosed, and this is with schizophrenia. Have been diagnosed with, 3.5 million people in the US have been diagnosed with schizophrenia, and 90% of those who were diagnosed by the age of 30 were men. 2.3 million Americans are affected by bipolar disorder, equal men and women, and for men, that's normally between 16 and 25 years old. So a lot of again, people who have kids, again, your teenagers, again, a lot of these things develop really early on, again, as kids. So again, going back to like getting, you know, kids like help resources is very important.
even if your kids if you don't know any active trauma that they've gone through, you don't know what happens at school, and they probably aren't going to tell you all of it. So I highly, highly, highly recommend getting your kids into some kind of program where they have a safe space to share their feelings and also work through their feelings so that they can develop as better adults. Okay.
Over 6 million men suffer from depression per year, but typically male depression goes undiagnosed. So again, men, if you are out there, you feeling depressed, again, go talk to somebody, please, because it warps itself into, and why these numbers really matter is because when you look at the mental health in men and them being really high, and then we go on the, and again, trigger warning for those who may understand, but typically it does lead to high cases of suicide among men. And the numbers for suicide in men, if you haven't looked them up, is very daunting, and is very quite disturbing as the amount of numbers, compared to who attempt suicide and who's successful in that. And that's typically where a lot of these things lead to. And we want everybody to be happy and living, and when suicide is ranked 11th in the world, I'm sorry, I'm about to find that again. I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if that was the world or that country.
It's
very high. Sorry, I was supposed to say it was a country or just in our country, but I know it was very high. I have to find it.
I mean, there's that one that's the second most common death.
Well, I said that too. That was because we're here. Yeah. Suicide is the second most common cause of death for men under the age of 45. And surprisingly, it was actually very high when it came to men above like 85.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. Like, 80, I was like 85, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You almost, I don't know, I guess I don't know.
Here, while you're looking for that, I'll give something. So, there is something really cool that I'm actually thinking of joining. I went through some of their posts and I was like, oh my gosh, this is cool. And I didn't know about it until I was researching for this episode. But there's something called healthunlocked.com. And then it's /anxiety-depression-support. And there's an anxiety and depression support group. Where you can write things and people have replies. Now, this is like any other social media to the extent of there might be some people that go there and their goal is to troll. That's honestly anywhere you go online, unfortunately. But it seems like from everything I've read, it's a lot less likely. And all the comments I read were very positive. And then they have different subjects, like someone posts a subject and then something about it, and then there's like different communities within that, and some of it's just fun things, like what's your favorite cereal, some of it's like talking about health, it's just all over the place, and that's just a really good resource to use, and like I said, I'm going to start using it as well, but from everything I found, it seems to be very positive.
And I did find the statistics I was looking for. In the United States, the suicide rate among males is 4 times higher than among females. Male deaths represent 79% of suicides, amounting to roughly 105 men who die by suicide every day. And that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, yeah. Like some of these numbers was like, wow. So, and a lot of it, like I said, comes back to unrecognized, undiagnosed, and most of it, and
the foundation of society.
Yeah, and most of the cases of suicide are from guns, of course. Like the highest among some of the other ways, but so that's something else there too. But
yeah. Oh, and definitely, if you have guns, please make sure they're in a safe before you have family over. You never know where these kids are, what they're gonna get into. I know all the things I got into when I was growing up. And if my parents had a gun just loosey-goosey, I don't know what I would have done. Because I wouldn't have thought ahead. I wouldn't have thought about everything. So if you do have guns and you have kids, educate your kids. And then if you do have them and you have family around, just please keep it safe and away from people, because you're the owner. You're supposed to take the responsibility, and it is your responsibility to protect people in the house if you have that in the house. So
please do.
Yeah.
But you know, some of the things, and of course there are, you know, of course resources, which you know, we'll get the resources kind of at the end. But that was definitely some things when it comes to that and dealing with men. So that's just kind of again my continued push, and you'll probably see me do more things, and I do plan on doing more things in my life when it comes to that section, because it's something I do advocately, like just personally really believe and support, because 105 men a day is wow. 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 So the people we talk about could be your brothers, your sisters, your brothers, your uncles, your nephews, whatever the case may be. So so it is a big thing.
And sure. A lot of times, like, I hear so often, at least with the experience that I've had with people unaliving themselves and throughout life, it's like everyone around that person is like, I don't understand how they didn't know how much we love them and how like awesome that we thought they were. And so if you love somebody, just please tell them. You never know when that will be your last moment. And honestly, like, as a person who has not all the way attempted, but definitely thought about it for years and years and years, and like wanted to die for years and years and years, like my parents' love specifically, and them and me knowing that they love me and that they would be crushed if I did that, was the reason it kept me alive. And then compounded with my friends and family, but I was very young when I was having these thoughts, and it was mainly because of my family and knowing how much I would have hurt them. And that was where my people pleasing was a good tendency to have. I'm still here today.
Come on, I'm glad to have you still here. And for those who are here and people who have attempted and you are here, let's just say we are glad that you are still here. And I know every day is a challenge, every day is difficult, but I mean, and I know it's so cliche to say it gets better, but there's always opportunities for better when you're living. And I would say, you know, to do something different, change situation or maybe circumstances, you know, there's something, again, finding these resources who can help you if you don't know where that's going to begin or what you could do, or situations to help you get out of certain situations that you may be in. But I will say it gets better, for sure.
Because a lot of times it can feel like you know the problems about yourself, you know your own issues, like you know those things. That is the first step. I feel like it's easy to get to that step, but the next step of like figuring out what to do about it and how to change your perspective is the hardest part. And that's when you need to lean on people and let them know. And you don't have to tell them fully if you don't want to, but hopefully you have someone in your life that if you are thinking about that, you can share that with them before you take the step. Because like, I don't care who you are. I love you. I appreciate you. And I want you to be here. And I want you to grow and evolve and to be happy. And hopefully, if you've ever had those lows, you really are able to appreciate the highs in life now. And able to appreciate yourself and love yourself. And I mean, it took me 20-something years to really, like, truly love myself. And there's still times where, like, the old me creeps back in. But now I'm way stronger to fight off those feelings. And I got that strength through leaning on my people and talking to therapists. And also, therapy is like finding your life partner type of thing. Like, you got to go through a lot of them before you find the one for you. So don't be afraid to break up with your therapist. If you have a thought right now, like, oh, she said you could break up with your therapist, I wonder if I should break up with your therapist and find a new one. Okay. Or tell them what you need from them. Because I've done that too. Been like, hey, I don't really get anything out of like just talking about my issues. What other kind of therapy can you do for me? If they can't, there's someone that can.
Yeah, someone can. And there's so many different types of therapy, too. It doesn't necessarily just talking one-on-one. But a lot of therapy is like, you know, I know some people do things like where you write something to yourself and you burn it. And, you know, just therapy groups and that where you can kind of put it into something, you know, give you that release. Or, you know, go to those places where you can, like, beat cars and stuff.
Yeah,
And,
there's so many rage rooms now. That's therapy in itself.
It is. So many different things. And even when it comes to therapy too, you're like, well, I don't know how comfortable I feel with being with somebody, or or I don't really have the time in my schedule. The therapy has advanced compared to where we see it on TV, where somebody's in a doctor's office, laying on the couch. I mean, they do virtual.
I'm virtual now. Tonight. Like I literally have therapy tonight, and it is virtual. But I can go in person. But I can also, if it's like crazy busy like I am now, and I really don't need to spend an hour in the car, then I can go virtual.
And even chat virtual groups now. A lot of, groups have. I
don't recommend BetterHelp though. I will say that right here and now. I had a very, very awful experience with it, and it really, I really get kind of upset when people like plug it. Like there's a lot of sponsorships that they have with people that I don't know if they actually use it. But if you've ever used it, everyone that I know that has used it did not have a good experience. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend them, but there are other groups, and you don't have to spend $200 and something a month to go to like you do with BetterHelp. It was ridiculous. I was spending the most I had ever spent in my entire life on therapy and getting the worst out of it. It put me backwards. So there's a lot. I could do a whole episode on that. Like we will never be sponsored with them. But I know you're listening, BetterHelp, but no. But if your competitors want to sponsor us, I would love to do research into them, and I would love to have something to promote that's a great resource for people. But it won't be BetterHelp. Right. But that's a personal thing, so you can decide what you want, and you can't come for me because I can say my opinion's BetterHelp.
Say that.
Okay.
But that's what kind of just pretty much what I had. I don't know if you had.
Yes. So. Now my computer's not working, so we're taking a song break. Okay, there we go. So, I've mentioned this before, and I am so glad I found this podcast I found this resource by researching for the podcast and trying to learn about the subjects that we're talking about as well. And it's been amazing. It has so many different types of resources. So onlinecounselingprograms.com. If you want to sponsor us, I am here for you. I appreciate you. And yeah, let's go. So I'm actually on a page right now that's 50 digital resources to help you manage your mental health during the holidays. It's an article from 2020, but all of this stuff still is relevant. And there's like an anxiety test, there's depression test, there's other podcasts that teach you different habits as well, and your health impact of stress. So Ohio State University's Comprehensive Cancer Center, their YouTube channel, did a discussion on stress responses during the season that it can affect cancer patients. And you also, it's just, I like learning about the brain and how it works. I feel like I can fight like the bullshit in my brain way better if I know what it's trying to do to me. It's like I get my defenses up much stronger, in a good way. So, this is also an online group that is very helpful. It's ADAA. It stands for Anxiety and Depression Online Support Group. It's a safe space for anyone wanting to share those feelings. So again, we're saying you're looking for a group. That's a great group. And then there's a bunch of different articles with different types of topics in managing the winter depression and the social anxiety during the holiday season. And they outline it really, really helpful. Like they have different sections that are articles, different sections of podcasts, support groups. And then they go into a different thing about family tension and how to manage your family's stress during the holiday. I'm going to open that one up in a second. And then how to deal with grief during the holidays. One thing personally that I did to help with grief, the first Christmas that we had without my sister, we did something that we had never done before, and we took a trip, and we did a lot of things that we knew she would have loved to do. So, see, grief hits you at different times. Normally I can talk about it, but apparently today I'm crying. So, yeah, I would definitely suggest, you don't have to go take a vacation or anything like that. But do something that you know they would have loved, or continue a tradition that they loved, and you're going to cry during it. It's going to be hard, and you're going to want to run away and not do it. But there's like, with the overwhelming sadness that you're going to feel regardless, it comes a little tiny sense of peace. Right. And honestly, you got to get any inkling of peace you can get, and joy you can get. Absolutely. Especially the first time. I mean, every holiday is hard without them, but the first time is when, at least for me, I realized it was real. So, yeah, definitely do that. Definitely do that. I finally wore makeup and then I'm crying. I haven't cried in so long.
It's all good. We do that same kind of thing.
Well, I haven't cried on the podcast in so long. I'd be crying.
Good on air, though.
I know. I've been holding it together.
I love it.
But yeah, I have some more too, but you go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say we do kind of do the same thing. When someone passes, like typically like anniversary of when they passed or their birthday, you try to get together and still try to do like a party celebration for them. Just think about them, remember them. As some more resources as well. mentalhealthamerica.net has some great resources. National Institute of Mental Health, Men in Mental Health, but they have mental health information for everyone. NIH.gov. There's also...
Hold on, say it again, because I wasn't even...
Oh, www.nih.gov. NIMH.gov.
Yeah, I just wanted to enunciate it real quick, because even when you were saying it, I was like, it's bleeding together, especially with N and M. Like, you really have to do that thing with the M to know that it's an M. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
menshealthnetwork.org. A lot of this is resources, of course, just resources so men can know they have resources. Mentherapy.org. There's also therapyforblackmen.org. As well as, of course, 988 Suicide and Crisis Hotline. Call 988 or 1-800-273-8255. There's chat for English only. It's available through the website. So definitely, if you have any of those issues, man, definitely check these resources out. Seriously.
Yeah, and we've talked about 988 in one of our episodes before, but it's just very helpful that they changed it to a 3-number thing, because I already forgot the number that you just said. But 988, right. I remember that all the time. All the time. I don't even have to look at anything to remember.
So definitely, again, use those resources.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, and I do want to give some tips. This is from Families for Depression Awareness, which is an organization that has like several different things. You can donate to it. You can search. There's a search bar. You can search topics. They have different social media. But this is one of their articles, and just giving some resources for you. So a 2018 survey found out that 88% of the people surveyed felt stress when celebrating the holidays. And I'm sure the majority of you listening feel some kind of stress. Like, whether you really like your family and really love them or not, you still get stressed. I love my family. My family's awesome. But the whole thing is stressful because there's so many expectations. And like, I come from a divorced family, so then it's like even more spread out. And who do I go to, and what day, and we have to plan it all in advance. So, speaking of, talk in advance to set expectations about gift giving. If I told my family actually a couple months ago, even before the job loss, that this year's Christmas was going to be slimmer than any other Christmas before. I am making something, so that's how I'm giving this year, and they know that. I didn't tell them any more details than that, and I'm not going to tell you in case one of them listens. But yeah, so just set those expectations, because otherwise it can be very uncomfortable if you are if you feel like I've had this happen to me before, where me and my friend just got each other birthday presents, and I thought that I explained that my present wasn't that big, but I don't know if they thought it was bigger. But I was like, they got me like a really, really nice present, and I got them an okay present, and I felt a lot of guilt with that. And so I'm usually the overgiver because I don't want to feel that guilt. But I know even overgiving can put stress on the other person, because it feels like you have to be even in gift giving for everybody to feel okay. But you don't actually have to be even, as long as the expectations are set ahead of time and everybody knows what they're getting into. So I feel like sometimes people overbuy just out of the stress of not knowing what the other person's getting, and you don't want to feel that guilt.
Which is why I always like when like groups or events or your family do those like gift things, and it's like, oh, this is the limit, so that everybody knows, okay, this is the limit we had to spend, and we can find anything, various things in that, and then everybody kind of feels like really,
you don't have to spend up to the limit either. I love that too. I'm doing that with one side of my family. We're doing that, and that helped me a lot, because I was like, I told them several times, like, I'm already getting everybody presents, but I would love to do something for somebody, but there's no way I can do that for everybody. So can we do some kind of fun game? And then also I really like the Dirty Santa games where because that is also really fun, because you can kind of like end up with what you want a lot of times, or like you could switch with people. It's just, it keeps the stakes high and it's fun. And then also I always strive to be the present that people steal, because I don't know, I just get a lot of like my happiness from giving to people and like successfully giving to people.
Oh, what is this? I love this. This is great.
And even then, it's like, that's my own pressure and that's my own stress that I'm putting on myself to like have the best gift, so that I don't feel any guilt. But even all of that, none of that matters. It's not about that. And that's where I think a lot of the holidays gets like into, I don't know, some conglomeration of stress. Because it's like, I shouldn't even think about all that stuff. I know I shouldn't. Like, the thing that matters is that I see and spend time with the people that I love, and I show them gratitude in some way.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so also be...
let me go back too by saying, because you talked about expectation. And I also want to say that expectation is not just for other family members, but I also think, speaking to people who may have children, I know that's a big thing where you want to overly give, and you want to give them, everything on their list or everything they want. But I think, again, like making those expectations known, especially if it's been a shaky year. And that was something like that my mom would do like all the time. Like many Christmases where, she just didn't really have it, she really would tell us, hey, I got you guys this, not much, whatever. But then, of course, she might say, like when New Year's come, or, tax time typically, then, she kind of do something extra then. But with her letting us know earlier, because people, I think sometimes, again, always feel like you can't talk to your kids, or you can't be realistic with them. But I feel like that's completely false. You know what I mean? Like, especially at certain levels of ages, like, kids be knowing what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, talking to them. And that was the thing, even with growing up, that I've always proud of my mom for, because she always like taught to us. She always like, I remember so many times even when she was changing jobs, I remember her getting us together. Hey, I'm gonna be not working here no more. I'm doing this, and even though we just like we don't know, okay, But it was just the fact that kind of inclusion and setting that expectation. So.
And it also prepared you for life. Like, you started learning things younger about how real life was, where it wasn't this, like, magical facade, you know?
Right, absolutely.
And that's very helpful. I'm sure that's shaped you.
Right, it did. And then you become a little bit more grateful, because then it's like, okay, well, you can't get everything, but, pick the 3 things that you most want to, the most. And then, again, for both parents, you can stay within your budget and be reasonable, because so many people try to go, you go into debt just for a day in the holiday. you know, for stuff that people may use and never use again, or, you know, as kids, you know, definitely outgrow or destroy, you know, within the first week, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's just, I mean, that's just capitalism telling us we need it.
Right.
So then we're like, okay, they need it to be happy, so we're gonna get it.
Right.
And so it's totally understandable if you feel that pressure, because that's what's been put into our society. But I'm sure you realize, if you're an adult listening to this, as a kid, like, you can reflect back on, like, your greatest memories and how many of those memories, if any, were surrounding gifts.
Right. That's true.
So it's not about that.
Right, it's not.
But also, I'll take this opportunity to set my expectation. I don't know if I set my expectation. I do have a present for you. It's very, 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 very small.
Okay.
And please do not feel any pressure. Okay. I also was gonna not stop thinking. Okay. I'm not getting you anything yet, okay? Okay, I'm getting you nothing. But coal.
Okay, cool.
Y'all remember those coal candies growing up? Did you ever get those? Every once in a while, they fill the stocking and be like, "You bad ass over here." But they actually got us other presents. They just got coal. You know, they're like
I know. Candy?
Yeah, it's like candy or gum.
Oh, really? No. I think they folks actually put coal in ours.
Oh.
They did something like, or something completely. That's what they do, like something completely off. I do remember. I don't think we're gonna talk.
Okay. Sorry. We're gonna get back to this. We're gonna have several different holiday episodes.
Yeah, I was about to go in.
Yeah, we were. Oh yeah, and we are running out of time. Okay, let me get through this list.
Oh yeah.
So be selective with activities and protect your time to do what matters most to you. Just like I was saying, I come from a split family. Statistically, most people come from a split family. And then even more so, if you have a partner, then you have their family, which might also be split. So it's like, you got to pick and choose, and you got to plan ahead, and it is what it is. Everybody should be understanding. If they're not, that's a them problem. So do what you need to do, because especially if you're an introvert and you're trying to go to all these events that you know are going to exhaust you and take everything out of you, where you can't like perform at work the best you can. You can't feel like a human, like you feel like a zombie, you know what I mean? Like just walking around, like
going through motions.
Yeah. But even extroverts have our full battery capacity. So there's moments in time where I reach my end and I have to get some alone time. So and especially things just get crammed. So yeah. You do you, boo-boo. Okay, that's all I'm saying. And then create a game plan when you are stressed. So, a great thing to do when you're stressed, instead of, you can grab that cookie if you want that cookie, but or the wine or whatever you need to get through, but, if you want to take a moment and either like go to the bathroom, look at yourself in the mirror, give yourself a pep talk, looking yourself in the eyes while you do it. It really helps if you do that. Or sometimes just like literally walking outside and just like breathing the air and looking around at the beauty, look at someone's decorations or something. Just like remove yourself from the situation just for a moment. And it doesn't have to be a big deal, and you don't have to tell anybody. But you can definitely do that. I also have a ring that's like a fidget ring that I wear, and I'll play with that, and no one knows that I'm even like stressed.
That's good.
Yeah. So, okay, so be aware of the tendency to revert to old patterns of behavior. So, if your family is mean, but they like to act like they're joking, and maybe you either participated in that or fought back on it, pick a way that you will change to better yourself this holiday season and how you will react to things, because I did see myself falling into old habits just a little bit with Thanksgiving, and maybe telling a joke that was actually just mean. It wasn't even a joke, and that's not how I want to behave. That's not the person I want to be, and that was just me reverting to an old version of me. So I'm not going to do that, and I recognize that, and I'm choosing different ways to do it. So maybe when something like that happens, you say, you point out something good about the person that's being made fun of. So then you can just kind of, you don't even have to acknowledge the mean person. You can just say something nice and keep it moving. But, and set boundaries with family members.
I was looking at that too, like that's a big
one. It can ruin your holiday. It can affect your mental health all year, all life long. So, if there are people that you know that they're not going to respond, if you try to communicate with them like, hey, I don't like when you do this and that, then that's when you allocate your time and choose to spend less time with those people. Because people are only going to change so much, and they'll only listen to someone else so much, if any. So it's really about you doing you and figuring out your plan.
Right. I know with family sometimes that can be a big thing. I know a lot of daunting for a lot of people about the holidays. Oh my gosh, I gotta be here. Especially if you spent a lot of your time going through, healing from things that may have came from childhood or things from family, or you got to a place where you become better, but of course you're still family with these people, of course, so it's like sometimes triggering just the idea of, oh my gosh, I gotta go be around them or around that particular person or individual. But so enforcing boundaries is big, and I feel like a lot of times you feel like you can't with family because they're supposed to be family, but you definitely can, you definitely can. I mean,
and if they don't respect those boundaries,
there's certain conversations that come up or whatever the case may be, you don't have to go back and forth, especially if you've made a stance on something that they may disagree with and try to bring it back, or every time you get around they're trying to bring it up and throw it, so just like she said, allocate who, maybe whenever you can, try not to be in the, not say same room with them, but maybe allocate more closer to the family members that you do like, and or if they try to bring up those kind of conversations again, enforce that, we're not talking about that, and stand on it. You know what I mean? Don't give into it. Don't plug into it. Or if, like I said, can't remove yourself completely. Whatever you have to do so that you're not triggered, so that you don't go back into those things. And if leaving is necessary, then do it. But of course, don't do it in a way that again put stress on you, or we got to argue, or say this.
Right.
Okay, so we're not talking about it. And if they continue, okay, I'm leaving. Stand on that, and because a lot of times that's the only way a lot of people know too is, but you don't have to do the whole tussle with them in order to feel like you have to stand that ground or create that boundary,
Yeah, on things that I disagree with, I'm naturally a tussler, so I do have to practice this holiday season, making my point in a respectful, calm, and loving way. Because that's the only way someone's going to listen. Like, if someone just came at me yelling about something that they disagreed with about me, then I'm going to get my defenses up, and not fully listen. So even to get the outcome that you want, you have to keep that calm and that center about you. What is it? Okay. Okay. You have to keep that calmness. And if you feel like you can't, that's when you step away. And maybe you can revisit it again if you want to have a conversation with that person. But you gotta come from the calmness, or trust me, it does not work out.
Especially if during the holidays there may be a little bit of that eggnog flowing. You want to be real careful with.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Be real careful with some of those things. So for sure, if it's gonna be in the mix. So
and honestly, like every time. So that's one lesson I don't know how much I want to say. I won't give the full story now because that's for another episode. But basically, if you're feeling those feelings of grief, try not to drink because it's probably just going to make you feel way worse, and then maybe lash out on someone, and then that just creates like an unhappy event for everyone. But give yourself time to remember and grieve your departed loved ones. So like we were saying, you got to allocate the time. You got to allocate your time for grief. Grief comes out of nowhere, like it obviously did during this episode. So you can't fully, schedule your life for it. But if you have back-to-back things going on in the holidays and you've given yourself no time to just be with yourself, it's going to bleed over somewhere. Right. And practice gratitude for people in your life and all that you have. So maybe you didn't get what was on your list, But look, you got family, you got friends, you have life,
right.
you are alive, and there's many other things that are, you know, detailed to you that you have to be grateful for. And definitely prioritize sleep, hydration, and outdoor time to replenish your body, because it's going to be so easy to slip into that holiday depression, that winter depression, if you do not sleep and you're dehydrated. Because I don't know about you, but even if I drink a drop, there's like a little bit of a sadness a couple days after that I have to work through. So that's why I'm not really drinking drops no more, except for my birthday. But so yeah, and then always have a cup of water with you at all times to drink. And after this, I am actually gonna go chug some water, because this is making me realize I'm dehydrated. And then disconnect with your screen. So if you're at a holiday event, at least once during that event, take some time to put your phone completely away from you and focus on that moment, because you will never get that moment back.
Right.
So you don't want to ruin it by scrolling through and looking at other people's moments.
Right.
So which aren't even the full moments of life. They're like that. Those are the best parts of life. Like social media is like more so usually. Except for I cry on social media. So I share all of my life, but most people don't. And then identify a lifeline to talk to or call to manage family stress during the holidays. Maybe you're lucky and it is someone in your family that feels the same way as you. I know that my lifeline would be my sister if she was here, but I have friends that are family to me that I know that I can call or text or whatever during the holidays. You're one of them. And you know, humans are humans, and your family are just humans. So we're all just trying to, nobody's like, you know, a god, I guess. You know, we're all humans.
A human experience the same way.
So
give people some grace. Grace too.
Yeah, give them some grace. Like, that has definitely helped me a lot in my life. Is not like you gotta set expectations for yourself, not other people, and that will save you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it sure will.
And then just a couple quick things about grief. So grief is part of your healing. So, you know, just focus on what you can control during these holidays, and plan ahead as much as you can, and communicating with other people. Allow yourself to feel those range of emotions, especially if you did lose somebody that's in your family. Other people in your family are feeling those emotions. So if you're having that grief experience and you feel like you need to go and hide, you don't. Like, lean on the people there, and maybe it'll turn into a beautiful session of sharing memories about that person that will help keep them alive that holiday. So, and try to find a way to honor their memories. And like I said, you can use old traditions, but you could also create a new tradition that is in their memory or even away from them at all, just to kind of push yourself through. Like, we did a trip. I mean, we never did a trip. Again, that wasn't a tradition, but we did a trip, and that helped us get through the first year. And then giving back, always. It always gives so much to yourself too. So even if you just want to do it selfishly, you're going to get something out of it. You know, donate to families in need, serve meals at a soup kitchen, volunteer, make crafts for people. Also at PetSmart, it's really cool. They have like a $5 donation to like they have a holiday stuffed animal that they've done for months that they give to children in need too. So sometimes it's like you can give right then and there while you're shopping. It's not even something that you have to go and do extra, but if you want to be extra, that is amazing and incredible, and please do it. And then ask for help, y'all. Like, we all need help. We all need help about different things at different times, and some people around you might have more knowledge than you ever know, and you won't know until you open that conversation.
Right.
So that's what I got.
Yep.
What about you? You got anything else?
I think I gave all the resources, all the advocacy. Again, I think will be conversations that we're going to continue to have and bring up about grief, mental health, those kind of things, because there's something that should always be discussed, talked about, and brought awareness to. Because clearly, so many people dealing. Like if you listen to us and you're dealing and going through it, again, check out some of these resources. If you know of people, please share this episode, share our grief episode, some future episodes on the topic. Share them, circulate them.
Psychology Today, I read up just a tiny little bit from it, but that's also a resource that I've used for years that have great articles about mental health and just psychology. It has it about psychology. It's in the name. So definitely look into that. Look into any of the resources we've mentioned. Find your own resources. Create your own resources. If it's not there, do it, right?
And listen, if you know any resources that we didn't mention, of course, comment these things so
please
let us know. It
can
be an aid to somebody else who may in the future watch this and maybe read that comment and say, okay, I checked that out as well.
Yeah.
So if you have any personal resources or know any that we didn't list, definitely drop them in. Let us all know so we're all aware. And we can all keep mental health ass. Above.
Right. I do want to say one quick thing before we end. So if you got anything from this episode, or you end up getting something like in practice with your family, or you want to share any holiday traditions, if you want to share any personal stories, please write us at Talkin Shit, TALKIN shit SHIT if you need it, ATL, Talkin Shit ATL at gmail.com. Okay, so email us there and send your stories to us, and maybe we'll feature some in an episode. You can share there if you want it to just go to us, or if you want us to be able to share it. Please include your pronouns as well. And we'd love to hear. We're having a traditions episode soon. So if you have any traditions you want to share with us, we'd love to share them with our audience. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
That'd be great. That'd be amazing. So definitely reach out to us. We want to reach out to you all. Like I said, comments, thank you guys for who've been subscribing and liking and tuning in week after week. Again, like I said, we noticed these things, and that definitely keeps us really going and continue doing this because, we love to see it, and it just encourages us that, I guess we're reaching the right people and we're doing something right. So, so listen, the more you guys engage and the more we continue to engage, and
the more we can tailor this to what you want, we want to hear what our audience wants to hear, because we can talk about anything.
Right? So. We will and do.
Right.
We do. And then episodes to come, we definitely got more plans coming on, like with the New Year and stuff coming up. It's coming up in more episodes where we will share those things with you on what we cooking and got going on, and all the good things.
If you do want to be a guest, send us an email as well and tell us what type of subjects you would want to cover. Start the conversation with what you would want to say and what subjects you want to cover. But this podcast is very much like we come with a subject, we bring our resources, and then we come together and share then. So we won't get into crazy amount of detail beforehand, but it'd be good to know what you want to talk about. So you can find us there. You can also find us at Talkin Shit ATL, spelled the same, on Instagram. That's also our handle for YouTube too, but on Instagram you can find all of the links to our Spotify, our Apple, and our YouTube. You can listen to us on all three. And so thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all.
We appreciate y'all so much. Thank you.
So much. You don't even know.
Again, you guys are heard, loved, seen. So just guys want you to know that.
Yeah, and I asked for some podcast things for Christmas, so we'll only get better after the new year.
Say that. Only getting better.
We're only getting better, period. But we'll be obviously better in the new year.
Good things coming. I'm excited about the year. So
a lot of things coming.
For sure. But I guess that's our time for this week's episode. Again,
we both keep on clapping. I keep on wondering if it's good, if you're gonna hear it.
The clapping is. No.
I know. We both have done it so many times.
Steady ovation.
Yeah.
So great, guys.
If you hear a random sound, it's probably a clap.
Right.
We're clapping for you. Thank you.
Absolutely clapping for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Love you. Bye.